Apple-bottom jeans, boots with the fur. The whole club was looking at her. Coercion, because if I am choosing to consent. I wanted to watch the film to get like a cool slap of reality. Hot water, so I am literally sweating buckets. The whole club was looking at her. The other day, literally 2 days ago, I was browsing the old YouTube shorts and I came across a video of a YouTuber I subscribe to who does acting challenge with 2 characters type videos, and she lip syncs to different audios. She started singing apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur.
What kind of bird are you?
I'm a sparrow. She's a dove.
No, I said, what kind of bird are you?
And I saw a video of what looked like a little Nazi German youth from 1930s Germany going into a girl's dressing room where there were a few girls dressed in bird costumes.
What kind of bird are you?
I'm a sparrow. She's a dove.
No, I said, what kind of bird are you? I'm a raven. He likes you.
My guess from the clips that I was seeing was that this movie was about a German boy who falls in love with a Jewish girl. It was a Romeo and Juliet type situation. I looked up a full free version of the movie, and you can find that on the Internet Archive, which is great because that's...
Like, there are no pop-up ads or anything.
And the movie is actually not about a Nazi boy falling in love with a Jewish girl. It's actually set in 1965, but it's set in the United States, which is weird because I was watching the movie and I was getting more of a Jojo Rabbit vibe from aesthetic-wise than like 1960s New England, but whatever. The film is called Moonrise Kingdom. So I just want to give a little disclaimer, I didn't actually finish the movie. But, you know, good luck. God bless you on your journey to find another Moonrise Kingdom review on YouTube. I don't think the conclusion is relevant to the topic of today's video, which is a tale as old as time. Male directors who sexualize teenage girls. It's set in the fictional land of New Penzance, which is a fictional island off the coast of New England, set in 1965 for no reason other than aesthetic. You see, the movie came out in 2012, an interesting time in film history where directors and filmographers and screenwriters, they didn't really know what they were doing. See, you had the early 2000s, which were a lot of self-aware, silly, goofy, intense, dramatic films, and then in the 2020s, they had perfected the perfect masterpiece formula, and now they had like a theme and a moral. And in the 2010s, they didn't really know what they were doing, and this is the product of that time period.
I'm literally just making this up. I have no idea.
We open with some classical music and the cast and credits at the very beginning, and then we get a narrator telling us about the land.
Is 1965.
The basic plot of the film is a girl and boy fall in love. Enough said. So Sam is a khaki scout.
Not a Nazi German scout, because this is 1960s East Coast United States.
He falls in love with this girl named Susie, who is the oldest of 4 kids, her youngest brothers all being really close in age to each other, and just taking up a lot of attention. So she basically has very little attention from her parents.
Hi, me!
But also doesn't really desire their affection either.
Hi, me right here.
It's not clear how they meet. Their earliest interaction is Sam is going to a church operetta of Noah's Ark in Latin, and he makes a beeline to the girls' dressing room where a bunch of girls are getting dressed as birds. And there he meets Susie, where he asks her name and what kind of bird she is, but it seems clear he must have seen her before, but where did he see her before? Was she already on stage? Did she have some stage time and then go off stage? I will say I really like the makeup that they put Susie in. Very 1990s goth. 1965 wouldn't know that, but 2012 would know that. Wooden Shoes is a pen pal relationship between the two of them that lasts some time until Sam decides to run away with Susie down the old Indian Trail to some Native American migration lands on a coast or beach or something. Long story short, they get caught. They eventually decide to get married, and then Sam, who all this time was an orphan and is living with his foster parents say they don't want him anymore, so social services have to deal with him, and that's basically the end of the movie. I don't really know what happens to him, but I think he and Susie continue to see each other. So in an interview, director Wes Anderson had long been interested in depicting a romance between children. Why? He described the starting idea for the story as a memory of fantasized young love.
Fantasized young love. Why is an adult fantasizing about young love?
He says,
I remember this feeling from when I was that age, and from when I was in 5th grade, but nothing really happened. I just experienced the period of dreaming about what might happen when I was at that age. I feel like the movie would really be something that was envisioned by one of these characters.
I think that is interesting and could be explored, but my question is, why is a grown man making an entire film about some of his childhood sexual fantasies? The film is about two characters in love who are 12, so they're in a goofy age between
Childhood love
and
teen romance.
Teen romance is a bit more object-oriented, where you want to date and you have some kind of concept of going steady, and it's a bit of a softer mimicry of adult dating. Children, they don't even really want to kiss or anything, they just like the idea of being alone with or close to their crush. In reading the Wikipedia page about it, it does specifically say that the movie explores child sexuality. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or not. I think everyone in my audience would agree that, I don't like saying that word with children in it. I'm gonna say smexual. There are definitely smexual stages of development within childhood. They're very different from adults. They're a lot more innocent. The relationship between Sam and Susie in the movie and their interactions, it seems very realistic. It's definitely very innocent. Sam is an artist and he does paint a couple nudes of Susie, but it's definitely along the lines of him being a 12-year-old boy who is attracted to women, who finds the female body beautiful and doesn't really have any shame about it or understand why he feels that way. I don't really like how in the movie that we see this, or we make a point about him painting nudes.
I will say I'm grateful that they don't use this too gratuitously, and they do genuinely try to paint a girl that they think a 12-year-old would paint.
It's very innocent, but when you have these grown men putting this amount of detail into a tween relationship and then putting that on the big screen, that feels a little bit weird. And then to make matters worse, we are over-sexualizing the 12-year-old girl playing Susie. So the girl was born a year where she would have been 13 at the time that Moonrise Kingdom would have premiered, likely making her around 12 the time of shooting. She was, making out with a boy on camera in a bikini, with some touching, some feeling up. This is another interesting phenomenon where a movie made about a childhood couple made by an older man. The girls are definitely portrayed in a very particular way. The guys are always portrayed as mediocre. Similar thing happened with the film The Mysterious Life of Timothy Green. You have an average-looking boy who becomes attracted to a very pretty girl. He is attracted to this girl who, she looks like she's put in a bit of makeup, and she has form-fitting clothes around a visible chest. And she would have been maybe 10 to 12 as a character, and 10 to 12-year-old girls do have like a visible chest under their shirt. However, when it's by a grown man and everything in a film is intentional, when a girl has intentionally visible chest, I feel like it's an excuse for these male directors who, regardless of what they are attracted to currently, sexualize very young girls for the sake of,
oh, this is the mind of a little boy and it's okay for him to think this really young girl is hot because he's a little boy.
Well, the director and the writers are not little boys. Another thing is Moonrise Kingdom isn't shot in a way that's entertaining for children. The film explores child mental health, child romance,
And child sexuality.
in a way that's not going to be interesting to kids. This is a film for adults to watch, and why are we having a 12-year-old girl in her underwear running around on screen for like 30 minutes of the movie. Who is this movie for? I spent a lot of time reporting predators on Pinterest, and a lot of these predators would have pictures of shirtless little boys saved to their profiles. But in addition to that, they would have a lot of photos of actors and actresses in skimpy outfits because they were in the forest, or they were swimming, or they were getting ready for bed, or they were taking a shower. But any excuse to have a provocative picture of a child. And what I'm seeing here in this movie is Pinterest predator bait with this 12-year-old girl dressed in this certain way. Sam is actually dressed more appropriately than Susie. He's covered more than the teenage girl is, and he's less developed than the teenage girl. Because again, we're supposed to focus on the girl being attractive because we're kind of seeing the film from the little boy's perspective. The audience are adults, and the director and writer are adults. I think it is realistic for a girl and boy to go swimming, but again, when it comes to shooting things on film, you have to be careful about what you show because not everything in person is appropriate for film. When I was really little, I watched this movie called Pippi Longstockings on the Run. So like, basically, Pippi Longstockings was a book about a girl set in Sweden or something, and then the film came out and it was in Swedish, but I had no idea until literally yesterday that my childhood movie that I watched was an English dubbed version of a Swedish film. In the film Pippi on the Run, shot in 1970, there is a scene where a little girl and little boy go swimming, and they're both in their underwear and the girl is not wearing any top. Now, I think the actress is maybe between 6 and 8, so there is literally no reason to, but it just feels a little bit irresponsible on the part of the director, because again, not everything that's appropriate in person is appropriate for film.
Another example.
It's always the 1970s films. It's always the 1970s European films.
Another is a film I'm not going to mention because I don't want you to look it up, shot in 1973, where there were actually naked little boys, and nothing was wrong. They were bathing, or these social workers were trying to bathe them, but they were naked. And I feel like as a director, you need to be more responsible with the kids in your cast because you have no idea who's watching the film. And you want to protect your cast, and the children cannot consent to being nude on camera, even if it is normal for children to get bathed by social workers naked in the privacy of their own home. That doesn't need to be shot on film. The children in this particular 1973 film were also not professional actors, so the directors were kind of taking advantage of them. Just because it's realistic and normal in person doesn't mean it needs to be shown on film.
A really good friend of mine commented that you can make a film without exploiting children.
Also, there's a particular scene where Susie and Sam kiss for the first time, and Susie asks Sam to feel her up, and just words are exchanged. Even if these kids are the age where they are aware of these things, and maybe they have done these things on their own, it's just not appropriate for film, especially when the audience is adults. But again, it's just another example of what looks like a director over-sexualizing a young girl with the excuse of, you know,
It's from the boy's perspective.
Moonrise Kingdom is based off a couple of older movies, one of them including Melody, a film from 1971, which is also about two children who want to get married, two 11-year-olds specifically, and they do a better job of protecting the actors and actresses involved despite it being an older film, because it tries to capture the childhood nostalgia without sexualizing or over-romanticizing the children.
Now, I want to connect this to another movie I watched that has little to do with it. Like, I wanted to talk about this movie too, but I don't have as much to say. Several weeks ago, I watched this movie called Stealing Beauty, and I think I found that film by watching a Lana Del Rey music video. Basically, Stealing Beauty is about a 19-year-old American girl who goes to Italy, I think, to reconnect with some family friends, with the goal of finding her father, but more importantly,
Losing her virginity.
no, like literally, that's the main plot of the movie. Europeans, they like to throw out the excuse of Americans are so prude because they sexualize everything. Europeans are degenerates. They love their nudity in films, and they make the excuse that they are enlightened and they're above sexualizing nudity. No, they just like to throw that excuse so that they can have their nudity in PG films because they're degenerate. The main similarity between Stealing Beauty and Moonrise Kingdom is the fetishization of innocence and the sexualization of a young girl. The difference is that Lucy, the 19-year-old girl, she's the age where it's now okay to sexualize her. Even 18, it's not really okay either because it is literally the legal age of consent. But by the time she's 18, she's no longer barely legal. She's been an adult for a hot minute. She's a woman now, but she's also still a teenager, and that's like super hot.
I am so amused by how angry I look.
In the film Stealing Beauty, her goal is to find her estranged biological father whom she has never met, but also to lose her virginity, specifically to lose her virginity to this crush, her pen pal, for the past few years. Stealing Beauty is weird because literally all the men in the movie are hitting on Lucy. Lucy is also an interesting case because Lucy is the age between a young adult romance and a teenage romance, and Sam and Susie are the age between a childhood romance and a teen romance. And Lucy is also at that limbo where she wants to find true love, she wants a deeper relationship, but at the same time she's also a teenage girl with a head full of butterflies and rainbows. I want to go on a little bit of a rant around Jeremy Irons' character. So if you don't know who Jeremy Irons is, he voiced Scar in The Lion King, but for those of you who are more film nerds, he was Humbert Humbert in Lolita. I believe he was Humbert Humbert in Lolita a year after he was this terminal poet in Stealing Beauty. So he was perving on 19-year-olds before he was perving on 14-year-olds. I feel bad for the man because he seems like a really sweet guy and a really decent guy and, you know, does philanthropy and stuff, yet he's always cast as a perv.
You're not one of those moralistic young people, are you?
What do you mean?
I mean sex. Do you disapprove of sex?
No.
You mean you never slept with anyone?
No.
A beautiful girl like you.
Why is that your first question as a 45 to 50-year-old man to a 19-year-old girl?
That's weird.
Lucy. You can't have decided that at your age.
I haven't decided.
You're in need of a ravisher.
I'm waiting.
Lucy, Lucy, Lucy.
Would you stop saying that?
You're scared. What is it you're scared of?
Stoned. I'm going to bed.
Sweet dreams.
So the next morning, Parrish is talking to a woman closer in age to him.
Well, look who's up and about.
I had a great night.
You met Lucy.
Oh, she's irresistible.
So, my microphone died on me before I could give the conclusion of today's video, but after spending way too much time detailing the plot of Stealing Beauty, I had two main takeaways. The first one is that Stealing Beauty simultaneously fetishizes Lucy for her innocence and virginity, while also shaming her for being a virgin. And I find virgin shaming particularly harmful because it pressures women into having a sexual experience that they most likely aren't ready for or don't want. And you are basically going to be suffering the traumatic consequences of what society has pressured you to do. Whereas the opposite, which is slut shaming, basically just pressures women to stop sleeping with other people and makes them feel a sense of shame for having done that already. Stealing Beauty also suffers from the same phenomenon that Moonrise Kingdom does, albeit a more mature, explicit version. And that is a much older director sexualizing a teen girl. I don't think any of the footage is illegal. I don't think either movie needs to be banned in any country, but I do think that we as a society and the consumers of such films need to be more aware of this phenomenon and put more societal pressure on these directors not to hurt children or fetishize young women and barely legal teens like this. And that's it.